problem for years. But knowing the problem isn't the same as knowing the market. So what happens when you build the right solution for the wrong audience? And how do you figure out who's actually willing to pay before you've launched a product that won't sell?
This is WP Product Talk, a place where every week we bring you insights, product marketing, business management and growth, customer experience, product development, and more. It's your go-to podcast for WordPress product owners by WordPress product owners. And now, enjoy the show.
Hi, I'm Katie Keith, founder and CEO at Barn2.
And I am Zack Katz, founder and president of Gravity Kit.
Ooh, you got promoted.
Well, I've always been president, but it's a bad title. Like nobody said, I'm president. Like, yes, no.
That's amazing. Do we have to call you Mr. President now?
Okay, now I'm back on to president. President's cool. Okay. I'm going to tell my team, call me Mr. President.
Yeah. Anyway, before we get started, if you benefit from WP Product Talk, we would love your support. The easiest way to do that is just to hit subscribe right now. It only takes a second and it makes a big difference. Thank you so much.
Yeah, and a huge thanks to Freemius for being our exclusive growth partner. Freemius helps software makers grow, monetize, and succeed. Freemius is a merchant of record platform, and what that means is that they handle everything around selling software: checkout, payments, subscriptions, licensing, updates, global taxes. So you can focus on building amazing products. So thank you again to Freemius for being our exclusive growth partner.
All right, and let's jump into product market fit. For this, we've invited Matt to the show. Hey, Matt.
Hello, guys. Thank you so much, Jack and Katie, for having me on.
Thanks for being here. Please tell us all a bit about yourself.
Sure. My name is Matt Schwartz. I live here in Atlanta in the US. I am founder of CheckView, which we'll talk about in a little bit. And I also have ran an agency since 2011 called Inspry, a dev and design shop for WordPress and Shopify.
That's really, that's a great background to have for the topic we're talking about, because a lot of people find product market fit by having the problems themselves. And it sounds like you've, as you know, working with as an agency, you probably had a lot of issues that you wish were solved.
Definitely. I have found many problems over the years, many of them caused by myself, right? But definitely learned a couple things that repeated itself over time, and that's really how we landed on our product that we've been building for the past couple of years, CheckView. And it's definitely been a little bit of a labor of love, you could say, and there's been some high and lows, but I'm excited to talk to you guys a little bit about it and really what I found, especially knowing y'all's background. Yeah, y'all. Sorry, I'm from Atlanta. Y'all's background on product, which was just like a brand new thing coming from service.
Right. One of the things that I think all of us have is the experience of wanting to make our pain point become a product, so we don't have and then sell that. Katie, I'd love to hear your thoughts on what product market fit means to you.
Yeah, for me, it's developing a product that people actually want and benefit from, instead of having, I'm going to say, the arrogance to think that you know best and that the product that you think is good is what everybody else will benefit from. And yet, scratching your own itch is great. That is a really good starting point, but that's not enough to get true product market fit. You need a much wider perspective. And I think not everybody does that.
Definitely agree with that. As I feel like the market teaches you that whether you like it or not, right? When you go into the market, seeing how your product does. We can't all be Steve Jobs, right? Build what you think the people want. You have to build what the market needs, which typically might align with some of what your own pain points are, but it's not always exactly aligned. And I think that's what I have found as we've gone down this journey, for sure.
Yeah, well, let's dive into that a bit more deeply. Can you share some of your experiences of how to achieve that and what has worked for you and what hasn't?
Yeah, definitely. So I guess I'll start a little bit about the product just to give a little context, if that's okay. So CheckView is a platform essentially primarily for website owners and agencies that are trying to ensure that their website forms and checkout work all the time, because that's really, their critical user path. If that doesn't work, you're not getting sales, you're not getting leads. What's the point of having your entire website, right? And it's one of those issues that doesn't necessarily happen to every website all the time, but it has happened, I think, to a lot of agencies, especially where when you're running 30, 50, 100 sites, things can happen. You may not notice, your clients may not notice for days. And in the meantime, they've lost really good leads or sales. So that's really where it came out of, was at our own agency having several times where it wasn't all the time, but it was enough that over the years that, not having a way to mitigate that when a client says, hey, our lead form hasn't worked for the past few days, on.
It's the
And I'm
worst
like,
email to get. It happens.
it,
It happens randomly and all the time.
It
And
does.
yeah, yeah.
yeah. And it's just very stressful and awkward, and you feel unprofessional, and you feel like, you know, I should be doing something to prevent that. And, I think some agencies I've talked to, they're manually submitting forms every day. And honestly, I'll be honest, I was not doing that at our agency. I was not. I had too many other things going on.
No, that's
Um,
impressive on its own. Like, okay, that's a wild that you have that process, but it shouldn't be
it
manual.
shouldn't be like manual. That's too much work. And so that's really where this product came out of, was we wanted to build a way to ensure that we weren't going to have those awkward conversations with clients. We weren't going to cost them money because of at least something that we did on our end. I remember one of the worst ones was a Woo site where his checkout went down basically the day before a really big TV spot. And it was a really awkward conversation the next day when he's like, so what'd you cost me? Maybe 20,000, 30,000. And
Oh.
it's not like anything. He was really nice about it. He wasn't like saying, I'm going to sue you, but it also was like, it was a dark moment. And I was like, okay, we need a better way to handle this. And that's actually primarily I'd been thinking about for a couple of years, but that's when I was like, okay, this is like a risk to my entire business. We have to figure this out. We can't. And obviously there's other things that need to be done, like best practices, making sure you have a good Woo stack. All those sort of things can help reduce the risk. But things do happen. And I think, testing everything on your site's not realistic, but testing those critical items, I think is pretty important. And that's where the product really came from. We built it for our own agency, tested it with our own agency. But since then, it's definitely been an interesting journey more on the product side of talking to agencies and really just figuring out, like, what they're looking for and how you can connect with them and their actual pain point, not the technical side maybe of the platform, which is, we're a dev shop. So that's how I talked, right? Like, I knew how to translate to clients for service, but especially with agencies, I was like, oh yeah, it's an automated testing platform, blah, 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 blah. They're like, what is that? I don't care. And they're not saying that, but over months, if not over a year, I figured that out. But I think that, with that being said, I am curious if you guys had experienced that, especially Katie, when you were starting, with Barn 2 and working through all of that and building out these plugins. Were you adjusting the plugins over time to make them more around your actual client needs, or how you communicated the products changed over time? Like, what made the biggest difference to you guys, I guess, if that makes sense? Was it the product changes to make it more centric to your clients' needs? Or was it more like how you communicate it with those, their problems in the marketing and that sort of thing?
You mean what made the biggest difference to sales or to the quality of the
Growth,
product?
just growth in general. Like
Yeah,
ultimately, at the
is
end
it
of the
the
day,
messaging or the product features that makes product market fit?
for you.
That's an
Not-
interesting one to tie it into the marketing. That there's a few strands to unpick there. So yeah, you need a good enough product to satisfy the market, but without marketing, that's completely pointless, because if people don't know about it, they're not going to buy it. We built our first products mainly based on clients, because we were an agency at the time. So we might have built a simple plugin for a client as a custom project, and then we would release it and add more features. So that was based on one potential customer's need. But the way I've always done it is launch MVPs, minimum viable products, and then listen to the customers. So once the product is out there in the world, then you can start getting feedback. I know you could also do market research beforehand, but I find that really difficult, particularly in the WordPress space. Who are you going to get to do this at scale? People don't respond to feedback surveys and things. So I like to launch the products and then see what people say, what feature requests you get. My favorite example is our Post Table Pro plugin. So customer paid us to build a table of blog posts, so a searchable table of their blog, because they had hundreds of blog posts. And we launched that, and it's still there on wordpress.org, Post Table with Search and Sort. And once that free plugin was launched, we started getting feature requests. People wanted to list custom post types in the table, so we released Post Table Pro. People wanted to list WooCommerce products with add to cart buttons and variation pickers and all that stuff. So we launched WooCommerce Product Table, which was our biggest plugin of all time. It's done something like 1.5 million revenue lifetime in the last 10 years. And they also wanted to list documents. So we launched Document Library Pro, which is now our biggest plugin. And that is all from listening after the product was released. But you also mentioned marketing, and I have found that marketing a product that has many use cases is a wonderful opportunity to get sales. So Post Table Pro, you could use to list anything in a table, like an audio library, a video library, a member directory, all these random use cases. So I was producing content for our site around all the use cases, which didn't require any additional development. They were just different ways you could use the same product. And so that went really well. But sometimes I'd go a bit far and publish an article where the product market fit for that use case wasn't actually very good. My worst example is student database. I published an article about how to use Post Table Pro to create a student database. And that has always been one of our top ranking pages since it was published in 2019. We've never had one sale from it, because people Googling how to create a student database don't want a table on the front end of their WordPress site at all. And we have always ranked for this keyword and never got any sales. So your marketing can break your product market fit.
Yeah, and attracting the wrong customer is a real problem if you end up with the wrong customer. Katie, let's talk, because Gravity Kit does make sales for student databases. So
Ooh.
let's talk.
If you want to rewrite my article, I will completely republish it with your product. Just send it to me.
Done. Yeah. Thank you. So one of the things that I heard you say, Katie, was you'd like to launch first and get feedback, and I love that idea. Launching, though, is not free. Like launching an MVP, it comes with costs associated with, like, you have to do all the branding for the product. You have to come up with the product. You have to launch it. You have to promote it, and then you get the feedback. I feel like in the AI age, especially, it's going to be one of the questions is, do we launch a bunch of smaller plugins, and how do we get the attention on them, and how do we find the product market fit for each one of them? Like, how do you see finding product market fit in the age where anything is possible using AI generated code and AI generated marketing? Like, what does it mean to really nail a person's experience now that AI has entered the chat?
It is getting harder, and smaller products are struggling more. I think the successful products in the future will be the more platform level products that are hard to replicate with AI and are a fundamental part of somebody's business, very sticky, all of that. So it does become harder. I've got experience of this more recently in branching out to Shopify apps, where I use my WordPress experience to launch an MVP, and it wasn't good enough because Shopify, I didn't realize this, they expect the bells and whistles straight away. So I just thought people will start using it and feedback, but then you get bad reviews and things, and that's a disaster in the App Store. So Shopify is very much about providing the perfect app straight away, which doesn't make any sense to me because you're guessing the product market fit. Maybe if you're a Shopify agency, then it's easier because you have some merchants to interview. But if it's a niche app, then you're not going to have all of your merchants wanting that app. I think it would be very difficult, and you're just guessing.
Yeah, Matt, how do you talk to the people that are affected by CheckView, for example? Like now, are you still using your agency contacts and experience, or like how do you reach out to your customer to make sure that you're aligned with what they need?
Yeah, I'll be honest, that's been, I think, one of the hardest things for me to figure out and learn is getting client feedback. It's kind of like Katie said earlier, like they don't really do surveys. Uh, so it's been very difficult to like figure out exactly what we should be doing. And I think it's already hard enough with product management anyways. Like I learned that in general, that product management, it's a little bit of an art and a science, because you will have some clients screaming they want this, they want that, but then they may not represent who you actually are going after or the general population of your customer base. So, there's an art to that. But then also, I think just with how everything is now, people don't have a lot of time. And, unless it's like a critical breaking feature, they may not bring it up, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. Like I know some people's philosophy is until everyone's yelling about it, I'm not even going to consider it, which I think there's an argument to that, right? Like, but at the same time, I think to Katie's point, you miss a lot of subtle features that could be used for other use cases, or, those accumulate over time. So you're able to pick up on maybe some customers that weren't your original use case, but they still apply, and it's still a clean use case to do it that way. But I have definitely struggled. Most of the time we've been talking, literally reaching out to like our power users, which is great, but also that means we're creating power user features, which is a problem.
That's a real problem.
Yeah. So I don't love that either. So I'm honestly still struggling with it. And I would love to hear from you guys, as guys that do this all day, like what are you doing to really like, is it a scientific process? Are you saying if we get 20 people asking for this out of our, 1,000 customers or 2,000 customers, a percent, then we know we're building it? Do you have a feedback system? How do you guys go about doing that to make sure the features you're building are actually meeting the market fit?
So I'm a developer. I love developing. I also, when I put on my marketing hat, I'm a great marketer, I think. But I don't like putting on that hat like voluntarily. I put it on, and it takes a long time for me to actually pivot into, okay, what do customers actually want? What is the competitive landscape here? What is the story? Like Matt, your story is make sure your forms and checkout work and easy. Like that's a nice Gravity Kit. We have a bunch of different products that do a lot of different things that are on top of Gravity Forms. So first you have to know about form collection and data collection using forms, and then you have to know about the rest of the abilities that you can. Well, form entries are stored in the database. So if you want to show that stuff on the front end of a website or analyze it, the levels of knowledge are kind of hard to explain. Yeah. So we've always had a problem with Gravity Kit explaining what we do, as opposed to somebody like, student databases, or student directories. If we built a student directory plugin, that would be what we did. And I think that that's kind of where the world is shifting right now. Is, Gravity Kit, you could build a student directory plugin. We have a lot of customers who do that. But if we sold a student directory plugin specifically, like that would be great product market fit, and that would reveal additional functionality and change the workflows in our products in order to make sure that we're aligned to that specific use case. So I think when you're looking for product market fit, being too generalized is a problem, even though it is an opportunity that you can talk about all the different things you could do, and you have like a one size fits all plugin, which Katie and I both offer different variations of that. So one of the problems that we have is reaching customers and finding out what they actually want. One of the ways we're currently exploring, we're currently looking into a new way to display not just data from Gravity Forms, but create data dashboards for WordPress from all sorts of different data sources. And of course, the first thing I did, well, I built the product. I built the MVP. It has amazing connections. You wouldn't believe the schema definitions that I've defined, and like the modifying all the data structures and stuff is great. Did I talk to literally anybody about this? No. We just had we used our team conversations and my knowledge of years of working with Gravity Kit to inform, and using EDD to sell our software. Well, I want a software that does this, this, and this, and this. But do any of our customers? So I brought this up with our team. Casey, our strategy and marketing lead, proposed that we have a survey. And so we are currently running a survey where we give people $20 off a purchase if they are a new customer, a $20 gift card, a $20 coupon for new customers, and a $20 off their renewal if they're an existing customer. And in the past, we've also done Amazon gift cards if people have completed the survey as well. So those are some different ways that we've tried to reach out to people. We're also next after PressConf, which is this coming week, so we're going to be off for a conference. The next week, we're going to actually be running ads to promote our survey, because one of the problems that we have is we talk to only our customers. And only our customers, we love our customers, they're amazing, and they have very specific insights that they can give us, as opposed to the broader WordPress world, as opposed to even the broader web world. What is the bigger opportunity is often missed by only talking to your customers, and especially your customers who are your power users are the most likely to talk to you on the surveys. They're most likely to sign up for the consultation calls where you find out more about their problems. So like being too dialed into a subset of your customers is such a risk for us that we don't want to miss the bigger opportunities out there.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Regarding what you said about releasing use case specific versions of your product, you said the student database example. My experience is that does sell better for that use case than a generic product. For example, the dilemmaed about whether to release Document Library Pro, because the biggest share of Post Table Pro users were using it for document libraries, but it was clumsy. You had to say, create a custom field and put your download button in that. That's not a good solution for documents. And yet we had many customers using it for that, because at the time there wasn't competition. And I did actually send a survey to the Post Table Pro customers saying, are you using it for a document library? If so, what would you like it to do differently? And we did get quite a lot of responses, maybe 20 or 30, which is a lot from a few thousand users, or however many it was. So if you already have a reasonably successful product that is related to the one you want to build, you might get some useful feedback which will feed into your minimum viable product, but at least better than your own intuition. And so we did use that to feed into the initial version of Document Library Pro. And I think that helped to make it more successful, because we discovered those pain points.
Yeah, I think that makes sense, as far as if you've got these niche, smaller scenarios. But I think the key thing is that I love y'all are saying is, do a little bit of research, get a little confirmation before you go down that, because there's always this, desire, especially from the dev side, right? Build these cool things. But and from the agency side, while I've learned to say no, for many years I didn't say no, and that was a disaster, right? Because you build all these cool things, but it's very stressful. But I think that even with something like CheckView, it can do a lot more than just test a form or test checkout. But I think what I'm getting from you guys, and I think super helpful, is if there's other scenarios, before wasting a lot of time and effort on it, like figure out if anyone even needs them. Also, to your point, Zach, like our general, I would say, market fit around, making sure your forms and checkout work is a strong point, and maybe just continuing to improve that
Be the
early
best
on.
uptime for your checkout and forms.
Right.
You
Or
could
as easy
yeah.
as possible, whatever it is, right?
Yeah.
Like something along that. And I think it's hard sometimes to get lost, or it's easy to get lost in the development side and the cool things we can do and the other things we can test. I mean, even early in the product, we built way too much. I already know that because it can do a bunch of other things. But maybe if we are going to look at those other opportunities, we should put the time and effort to try to do some surveys. I love the idea, like you said, of even potentially ads or giving people like a discount off of the product if they then go and purchase it. I think that's a neat way that doesn't really cost a lot of money relatively from like the product side compared to paying out even like a gift card or something. So I think it's a great idea.
And one of the things that we've been doing for this dashboard plugin is doing a ton of competitor analysis. And AI makes this all so much easier, where you say like, okay, identify the competitors. And then if they're on WordPress.org, for example, you can then go to WordPress.org, scrape essentially the reviews, scrape the support topics. I don't know if this is a violation of the terms of service, in which case I don't do this.
Yeah, never done it before.
Never done it before. But get all the information. They provide an RSS feed. You don't need to actually pound the database. Anyway, it's pretty easy to do this. And then you distill from the feedback what people are frustrated with about these products, where the gaps are. If people are talking about them and they're frustrated or they're really enthusiastic about it, that's a sign that people want that, right? So competitor research is a great way to do this. And competitor research outside the WordPress space is really good to be like, oh, wouldn't it be nice if WordPress could do this and our products? Nobody's asking for that in WordPress, but if a lot of other SaaS providers have that feature, it's a good sign that people in WordPress would like that as well.
Yeah, that's brilliant, actually. I'd never thought of even using AI to do that, because it's one of those things that like you want to get to, but you don't get to. But then if AI
you can get to it, start up a chat right now. You can get to it while we talk. Yeah.
Sorry, guys. No, but that's actually super brilliant, just to get basically like you said, the overall pain points of what their current maybe reviews or customers are saying, at least what you can glean. I think that's actually a brilliant idea that I am definitely going to steal. I'll be good about it though. I won't pound on websites trying to make it happen maybe, but that's super smart actually. Because I will mention like a lot of our direct competitors are not in WordPress, even though a lot of WordPress users are using our direct competitors, they're SaaS products. But I am curious to see if I can do something like that in order to figure out where the pain points are that maybe I don't know about, or reinforce the pain points I do know about when it comes to using their tools versus something that's WordPress specific like ours. So that's brilliant.
And one of the great ways to do a cognitive shortcut is to say it's like this, but that. So it's like better uptime, but for your forms on WordPress, you don't pay. Like you pay once a year instead of monthly, or like. So if people know about something, then use that phrase, and that lets your product market fit be easier to explain. It's like Airtable, but for WordPress. It's like Google Sheets, but for your documents on your site. I don't know. It's
that's a smart hack, though. I think it makes it easier for sure to understand. I did have another random question for you guys, if that's cool. Yeah. So obviously, both of y'all's products are pretty well established at this point, and I think one thing, if you're starting out relatively new with product now, at least I'm finding it is WordPress is in a different space now. It's definitely more mature. And even something like finding that product market fit seems to be more difficult now because there are a lot, not only more competitors, but there's, I think, more channels that people are looking at. And it's not just like WordPress.org to find the product, right? So, if you guys were like starting off more today in trying to figure out your product market fit, would you be primarily focused on like grassroots, trying to talk to agencies or individual owners? Would you be focused more on, like you said, surveys and just ads online, trying to target WordPress users? What would be your methodology to do that today? Or would you just build the MVP and then just see what happens and then try to market the hell out of it, I guess? What would you all do?
Yeah, historically, I've launched a lot of really quite small plugins like that offer specific features. I would do the exact opposite if I was starting now. I would choose a much bigger product, like I said, that was more platform level and would really be indispensable to everybody who used it. And I'd really analyze what would make it sticky for them so that they would keep using it, that they would really lose out if they stopped. For example, data and things like that. Most WordPress plugins don't display analytics data in the dashboard about how people are using, about the performance of the plugin. For example, if it's, say, a pop-up plugin, then maybe it won't say how many pop-ups are fired and how many conversions it got and things like that. WordPress historically hasn't been very good at that, but they need to justify their value now. Product market fit is not just about appealing to the user, it's about proving to the user that it is getting the results they need. So I would really change the product by making it a lot bigger and stickier in all of those ways. But an equally fundamental thing I would do differently now would be marketing, because Google Organic is just dying. And my sales have always been heavily dependent on Google Organic. We have many marketing channels, but the vast majority of sales, like 70% odd, have always been Google Organic. And we've had a massive drop as a result because the way people are finding products is changing, and AI tends to lead to fewer conversions even when the AI recommends you. So I would choose a product that I would market through things like word of mouth partnerships, agency partnerships, cross promotions, established marketplaces. Even like WordPress.org is not Google Organic, so that is a discoverability channel that you could use. So that's not directly product market fit, but it's kind of marketing market fit, if that's a thing, that getting to where the people now are, which has changed.
Yeah, I think the time to first value is something that I'm really trying to focus on for this new product, where you install it, hopefully for free, and then you get immediate value from it, and you get excited. I think the excitement is a good sign of product market fit. If you're having to try to figure things out, and it takes a long time to get that time to first value, you're less likely to have somebody be enthusiastic about after the first setup, enough so that they tell other people. So I don't think that this is counter to what Katie was saying. I think, like, in addition to what she said, time to first value is a great way to say, like, okay, what's good about this? And I think that doing live calls, what I would do if I were launching a new product, which I got to take my own advice now, but is have people watch people set up your product, see them on board to your experience, have them describe to you what they think your product does. Because if it's not what you think your product does, then that's a good opportunity to either pivot or clarify what you're on, like through your onboarding or your marketing. Because it's always very discouraging, or it often is, to hear your customers describe your product to somebody else. So those are some ideas. But like onboarding and time to first value, I think, is a great indicator that you have good fit.
Yeah, definitely. No, I think that's definitely good to keep in mind. Because I mean, to be honest, yeah, I think I have a general sense of where our market fit is, but it also is confusing with everything with AI going on, to be honest. Hate to bring up AI for the millionth time on every freaking podcast, but it's just it yeah, I think it's been a little bit of a struggle because you're always trying to figure out, okay, well, where's our value going to be with things like AI coming out? Like, because there are certain things that people are going to DIY or try to do it. Um, and even something like CheckView, which really QA should be reliable and be the opposite of using AI all the time because it needs to be doing the same thing over and over again, not hallucinating, not changing the test. It's still hard to, I think, get clarity there, like on where everything's going to land. Um, I guess when it comes to that sort of thing, is that affecting like the sort of products that you guys are looking at building? And is that affecting from the product market fit side? Are you considering AI into that, I guess, when you're looking at it?
Yeah, so for this dashboard product that I've built and we're seeing if it's any good in terms of product market fit. One of the things I wanted to make sure, and so many times I corrected myself on this, it's like we need to be AI first, even though it's it's a dashboard for humans, but that dashboard also needs to be for AIs, and so it needs to be a two-prong approach now. Where okay, you can build a dashboard for data, but can you talk to it? Can you understand it using chat? If not, your product's dead in the water in like right now / 1 year. So I think that like considering the AI first angle, I would at least have an MCP, for example, for CheckView to make sure that you can communicate with your data to make sure that how many times did it go down, what was the cause of it, if you have that kind of information. And if you don't have that kind of information, then maybe revising the product to make sure that you have more detailed logs, not for the humans necessarily, but like thinking from the AI's perspective about what the product market fit looks like for them, for the AI agents.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Yeah.
What do you think, Katie?
Yeah, that's interesting. Because people might not replace your product with AI. They might want AI to talk to your product depending on what it does. So it needs to provide that value rather than it being easy to bypass it. I certainly wouldn't launch a small plugin, like I say. We have plugins like WooCommerce multiple email recipients, WooCommerce lead time, things that just do one thing. I would never launch a plugin like that anymore. It needs to be something with that huge value around it. And so that would fundamentally change it because, well, you can get... the user can just build it themselves, and they hopefully won't, but some of them will, and that's part of our market.
And we've talked about this in the past on WP Product Talk episodes, but I think that also changes the nature of distribution, Katie. Like one of the things we're considering, we have a few smaller plugins, and we're considering bundling them into a larger plugin, like a Jetpack type of thing, where you can toggle on and off the functionality that you want or don't want. And so maybe if you are building CheckView that does other stuff, maybe that is included in, like, people might be able to toggle it on and off, or maybe they could pay to unlock certain things, but it's all the same distribution, but like the unlocking is gated behind the paywall, which is something that Freemius does very well, by the way, sponsor of the show. So thinking about it from a distribution angle, I think, is also helpful. If it is small features, are there enough small features that becomes a larger story?
Yeah, that's an interesting point. You could do that way, particularly with something like your product, Zach, because they're all centered around Gravity Forms. So it could be a Gravity Forms booster or something like that
Right.
collates those.
Yeah, I was going to say that, I definitely hear what you're saying, Katie, on like smaller, ones, worrying that people are just going to basically use AI to generate them. But I think, Zach's point about bundling, but also reliability, right? Like, I think that goes back to, if you're a reliable, like, product company, that's why SaaS, I think, is not going to go away, at least in my opinion, because I mean, yeah, I could build that, but then I have to maintain it. Then I have to worry about it. So I do think there's like an argument to not DIYing everything, which of course some agencies are going to do. Like you said, Katie, there's not really a way around that. Hopefully they'll come back around when they realize their website's a dumpster fire, but because they aren't maintaining it. But I think, yeah, even what you said, Zach, it's a little reconfirming on our end, making sure that your plugins or your SaaS or what have you can talk to the agents directly. And that's kind of what I was curious about, because like you said, like if I type it into chat, I could, or if someone's thinking about it, they're probably going to be thinking of it now from a agent perspective, at least some people, not everyone. I mean, obviously, what, like 3% of all households pay for AI right now. So we're in a bubble, I'm aware. But I think that, when at least I'm talking to other agencies, they are using things like Claude, they're hooking it up to MCPs. And sometimes they're relatively technical. Sometimes they're not, though. They're just using Claude Cowork, which you download and make the little connection, type it in. So I think that's a really good argument for probably considering that and doing, like you're saying, building it almost to be agent first. I mean, I know with even builders, some agencies are talking about switching builders just because they want a builder that is agent first, so it can build more of the site and understand the context of the builder, which makes sense from an agency standpoint anyways.
Yeah, like for CheckView, if monitor all the forms on my site, I don't care. Like, hey, if a new form is created, make sure that it's being monitored. If there are different product purchase buttons, make sure that those are being tested. Like the more like the less, more hands off, and at the same time reporting, being reported upon, the better. So, and like if I were creating a new, I have a Gravity Kit MCP that I've been working on. And one of the things that I found while developing that is that a lot of the edge cases weren't being tested and I found a bug in the Gravity Forms API that is kind of something that can't really be fixed, but it's a good edge case that isn't documented anywhere, and something that the MCP knows about. And now I'm wondering, okay, how do I integrate that into my products? All of that came out through developing through AI first and the endpoints first. It's always one of the things that I think AI makes so much easier is edge case testing and finding all the gaps. And that also comes from product market fit, where you can find all the gaps in your current offering and make sure that you filled those all in. And you can develop it like immediately and add tests for that and make sure it works.
Yeah, it is. That does seem to be like a flow that's happening now. You build the MCP, you use your own MCP to test it, pick up all the edge cases. And then if you're really thinking ahead, you could even probably shove your Freshdesk in there and have it look at all your issues and then run test against all of those. It's kind of insane, but you could probably do that in a couple hours.
Right.
So, yeah, I guess it is good from that perspective for sure. Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, it's a really interesting perspective on the concept of product market fit, that the market includes AI and not just people. I hadn't actually thought about it explicitly in that way, but that does make sense, and that it will continue to be. We need the markets to include AIs and how they can interact with our products.
Yeah, like, hey, Claude, what are some things you look for in when you recommend a plugin? I've done that from like a GEO standpoint, like optimizing like the AI agents' responses and stuff, but not from a like, these are the qualities that we want in a plugin, and then we can market to that specifically.
Yeah, this is getting a little bit like, is AI going to be first-class citizens now? I'm a little concerned, right? Like, but when we put it this way, like, it is true. Like, if AI is trying to find the best solutions and they're already connected to all your systems, if you're using like Claude, which is connected to everything, and it's like, oh, well, you already have these connections. I can connect to this one easily. Why don't we use this one? Because I could do this for you now. Or if you use this other plugin, it doesn't have an MCP. It's not using, Core's, MCP options. It may be like, this is going to be more complicated. we're not going to use that if it comes down to those two. So I hadn't really even thought of that myself until this conversation, but I can totally see that happening.
Yeah, we're talking about content pages at GravityKit that are targeted toward AI, understanding what our products can do. And maybe on each product page, we have like an AI section that describes for AI, like in a different way, what our products are all about. But one of the things that AI loves to do is just build something without considering if there are existing solutions out there. So maybe that's part of what our landing pages should be, is like, hey, AI, don't code this, use this MCP instead. This is going to be more reliable, because what AIs want is to solve whatever problems that the prompter has given them. So if we make it clear to AI that our solution is better for them preparing a solution for their user, it's just another agency. It's just the world's biggest, smartest agency.
Basically, yeah. I know that's not where we were going with this conversation with product market fit, but that is an interesting idea to almost market to them as well, and make it explicitly, like you're saying, like, we have an MCP, AI, read all the endpoints, think this is going to do what you need, because that's kind of, what at least some agencies are going to do. They're just going to have it fetch that, right? So that's an interesting idea for sure. Very interesting.
And this might not affect the product specifically. It might affect things like the documentation. I know Zach's been doing a lot of work on making sure and testing that AIs can fully understand the code base of your products, because they need to be able to write code snippets and things like that. So often it's the stuff outside of the product which will allow it to fit that AI side of the market.
Yeah, and I do think documentation we haven't really talked tons about how people know whether or not your product is right for them. And I do think documentation is a great way to do that, and videos is a great way to do that. Like, we're trying to not convince customers to use our products. We're trying to let the customers know that our product's well aligned to what their solution needs to be. So if they have a problem A and we're describing problem B, even though we could solve their problem, like, we need to make sure that we have enough documentation talking about the things they care about in a way that they like to ingest to close the sale and make everybody happy.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Almost like using video to also align with what the market is looking for. You could even test that to some extent, probably based on just your video engagement. That would be kind of an interesting idea, I think, too. Mm-hmm. Like, you could make YouTube videos of different sort of scenarios and see which ones, get the most engagement, almost as like a research, methodology. I hadn't thought about that.
That's a great idea. And YouTube does allow you to promote videos really cheaply, and you could have different videos, and you can see the fall off time for each video for like where people stop watching. And maybe the longer people watch, the better sign that is that your product matches that need.
Yeah, that could be an interesting one. I hadn't ever thought of this either, but I think that, like you said, if you can also advertise relatively easily on YouTube, that would be another method. Almost, it's obviously not as cut and dry as a survey or something, but like you said, if you can even see the engagement rate of where they fall off, that would be pretty neat. Yeah, I love that idea. It's a great idea too.
Same with organic content on your website. You can publish a bunch of blog posts, tutorials, documentation, and look at your stats, your analytics, to see which ones people are clicking on. The usual SEO research techniques actually are kind of market research, aren't they? Because what people are clicking on and visiting is your market.
I love that as well, because I promise you, I have not looked at any of our blog posts ever to see the engagement. And I'm kind of curious. Now I could probably just spin it up in Cloud and be like, hey, what's going on in GA4? Tell me which blogs are actually engaging. So I love that idea. Yeah, like you said, it's not a traditional sense of market research, but I think it's definitely at least a potential indicator. So that's a great idea too.
Once you already have stuff out there to analyze. The problem is when you're so new that you haven't published anything. But I do like publishing content and videos are harder, but blog content before the launch, because that allows you to get some feedback before launch. Videos are harder because you can't then edit them later to inject your products in.
Yeah, that makes sense. But speaking of videos, when it comes to like, let's say, partnerships or anything like that, have you guys looked at, having more partnerships if you were starting like a new product? I know you mentioned, Katie, like you would look at more partnerships. Have you looked at things like doing more video partnerships or anything like that when launching like a new product? And I know this is not quite, again, product market fit, but it's just a good WP product talk question, I think.
Yeah, I suppose there's different types of video partnerships. The ones that would be best are influencer marketing. So your really high profile YouTube channels about things, how to build WordPress sites. They're going to charge you thousands. So we've inquired with all of them and rarely gone ahead because it's just so expensive. The type that are more realistic is video exchanges with product companies that are of a similar scale to you, because they're likely to say yes. But the thing is, most of our YouTube views, and we've got, I don't know, over 10,000 subscribers, most of our views come from people that are just searching in the moment for a keyword on YouTube, not from our existing followers. So in a way, it doesn't actually matter what channel it's on. If it's on someone else's channel, it's not necessarily going to be more impactful than a video on our own channel. So I'd say if you're just starting and you don't have a decent channel that Google knows, that YouTube knows that people like, and therefore will give you a boost in the algorithm, then yeah, try and get on other people's channels. But if you've got a decent channel, I'm not that convinced of the benefit of getting on a similarly sized channel. And I mean, it'd be great to get on, say, the Elementor YouTube, but we're not the same scale. So what's in it for them?
Yeah, I hadn't thought of it that way, but that makes a lot of sense to consider if you're going to do a partnership. Are you better off doing it on your own if you're established enough on YouTube?
Yeah, I think developing people that for example, agency relationships, if you know people at agencies and you want to get an agency perspective on whether or not they find, like, what their pain points are, that's a great way to ground truth, whether or not your product is a good fit. Like if they're excited or if they're confused, is a big difference.
Definitely.
Well, we always wrap up the show with a quick roundtable question about what is your best single piece of advice if you were just passing someone quickly in the corridor at a conference or something. What one thing would you tell them about product market fit?
You guys want me to start, or y'all want to go?
Yeah, you go. Unless you want us to, and you get a chance to think.
No, I mean, I think all of mine are pretty cliche. I guess my biggest thing is, if you're going to build a product, actually talk to some product owners and get their advice and actually take it in. Don't dismiss it. I find, at least, just learn from the lessons of those before you that worked in product, not necessarily specifically about the technical side of how to execute a product and all of that necessarily, but when it comes to product market fit specifically, I think it's similar. It's not just about the product. It's about like nailing that solution, that experience for the customer, and just being almost like tunneled in on that at the beginning, rather than just focused on dog fooding and building for yourself, which is really helpful. But it allows you, I think, to stray pretty easily. It becomes too emotional almost. You're too attached. So that would be my advice, I think. But pretty standard, but you actually have to listen to it for it to be effective, which I did not do. So good stuff.
One of the things we're doing with the survey that we're currently running is, and I'll plug it, gravitykit.com/survey. If you're listening to this, please fill it out. Is how much are you currently spending to solve similar problems? because you can find good product market fit for something that doesn't make money. And it's important to make sure that what you're solving is something people already have a pain point for and already are trying to solve with other money. You can invent categories, but it's a lot easier to take over somebody's existing workflows if they're already doing something similar but worse. So if they're not currently paying anything to solve the problem, that might not be that you might be able to have a product market fit, but it might not be a good product for you revenue wise. So follow the money, make sure that what you're solving people are willing to pay for.
And I'll add to that, because I learned that as well, but is that not only make sure they're willing to pay for it, but making sure the cost for you to build it and maintain it and market it is less than what it takes for them, what they're willing to pay for, right?
And there are great WP product talks about pre-selling as a validation, and I love that idea. Kevin Geary talked about that, where like, okay, you want to determine product market fit. What he does is put up a page, have people pre-buy it, and if people are pre-buying it, then he knows that people want it. he's already got customers. Yeah, exactly.
Right.
So
brilliant.
That's a good episode to watch as well for product market fit. Like, there's a lot of good advice out there. How about you, Katie?
Yeah, mine is to continue improving the product market fit after launch. So do everything that Matt said before launch. After launch, keep listening to your users. And one tip that I haven't mentioned is to treat everything as a feature request. My support team are trained. I'm not saying they always do this, but they are trained to listen to every pain point. If the user gets confused about something, that's a feature request, even if they didn't explicitly word it like that, because it's a potential UX improvement. If they just would have benefited from something that wasn't there but didn't explicitly say so, that's a feature request. So by having the widest possible definition of that, you can use your support systems to gather that data from your users and continue improving that market fit. Well,
Definitely.
That's a wrap. Thank you, Matt, so much for joining us. Where can people find you online?
Yeah, thanks guys for having me. To be honest, I tend to be in the admin bar in Facebook. You'll find me there the most. I'm also on LinkedIn a good amount. You can also just reach out on checkview.io or inspry.com. Happy to chat anytime. I'm still figuring things out, but if there's any other product founders that are also figuring things out, feel free to reach out and we can chat more.
Awesome. Well, if you're enjoying these shows, please do us a favor and hit that subscribe button on YouTube. It's free, easy, it helps support our work. Special thanks again to Freemius for being a sponsor.
And now that is the end of season 12, if you can believe it. We'll be back in a couple of weeks for season 13, which will kick off a discussion with Drew Wild about site troubleshooting with AI for WordPress. So put that in your calendar for the 22nd of April. Thanks for watching. Bye.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.